So do the one, and then you'll keep receiving a lot more money. Siti, please remind us the proverb.
Yes, this is our final proverb from the Republic of the Gambia. Yes. A leopard that visits you, those of you who are in the habit of having leopards visit them, is the one that kills you.
A leopard that visits you is the one that kills you. Be very careful.
Be extremely careful.
Yep.
A leopard is not a domestic animal.
No matter how hard you try.
It doesn't matter what you do.
You can put a collar on it, you can put a sweater on it.
Even give it a name.
Sure.
And some leopards are actually human beings.
Yes.
So be very sharp to identify a human or a human leopard.
Or a leopard masquerading as a human. And remember, that very leopard that visits you,
it will
eat you. Yes.
It a cooler way. Our conversation continues. Lebanon. What's the state of the Kenyans who are stranded in Lebanon? I want to speak to somebody else. Her name is Paris, to hear the story. Paris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you for speaking to us, Paris. How are you today?
I'm doing fine.
Where are you in Lebanon?
Though we have not slept. Whoa. We are right now we've moved in the mountain, but we have not slept the whole night.
Please, let's start from the beginning. In which part of Lebanon are you?
Yes. I was in South Lebanon, and when the bombing started, we moved to Beirut. Again, we were not very lucky. Our house got bombed
in
Beirut and in South Lebanon. In South Lebanon.
Okay.
We came to Beirut, and our house was bombed also. Now we moved to my boss's relative in Tripoli. Again, it was bombed, and now we are in the mountain.
When you say a house was bombed, take us through that. Where were you? Was it bombed during the day, at night? Where were you? Which part of the house were you in?
In South Lebanon, it was bombed during the day, actually at 1. That day, I was in the rooftop drying clothes, and it came on our house. But we moved without anything. We just moved the way we were. All our stuffs, they got trapped in there.
So
we went to our
bosses. Who did you move with?
With my boss.
Is it a family or is it?
With my madam, we moved with yes.
Okay.
So, Paris, if I may ask you, when you say you're in the mountain, what does that mean?
In Lebanon, there are mountains. Mountains are, people got houses here. Yeah, so we came here. This is where we staying, but it's not my madam's house. It's a relative's house.
Okay, so there are houses at the mountainside, is what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
How many are you in the household?
My God, we are almost 20.
The household,
and I am the only person who is working. Yes.
So who are the others?
their families, their relatives. They're just running from the places that they are bombing, so they're just coming and staying together.
Okay. Now, you told us that you
Yeah.
haven't slept tonight.
Yes, we have not slept at all. Since 9, there have been so much bombing here in Lebanon, and there was one at 12, which was very intense, very intense.
Has it destroyed other homes?
Yeah, sure, yes.
How long have you been working in Lebanon? When did you move there?
Back in 2022.
So you've been there for 2
in
years now.
July. Yes, this is my third year here.
Is it this? Are you working for the same employer that you started working with?
No, this is my second employer. My sponsor who brought me here, we had our differences in the beginning of this year, and I was rescued by the consulate of Lebanon, and I went and I was put in a shelter for 2 months with nothing, without phone. Phone I was only given for 2 days in a week for 15 minutes to speak with my family. It took 2 months before my employer said that he cannot give me he cannot make me travel back to the country. I have to pay $2,000 so that I can go back because I did not finish my contract. And that it made me not travel back to the country. Since I am the breadwinner of my family, I am a parent, I am a mother of 2. I'm the one who provides everything for my kids. I couldn't provide while I was in the shelter. So I asked my consulate to release me to come outside and work so that at least I can give my kids a basic needs. That's how I got out of the shelter and I came outside. I came outside and I found this family. I've been working for them. This is my 5th month with them since I got out of the shelter.
Are you still repaying the first
employer? It has been good. Yes.
Are you still repaying the first employer?
I'm not paying her. I cannot be able to pay her the money that you're getting here. Even those $2,000, I've never seen them with my eyes. Like, I've never collected them together. And my employer is not, she doesn't want to give me my documents to come back to the country, and I pay the $2,000.
Which employer? The second employer or the first employer?
The first employer.
So Paris, if I may ask you, how then were you able to begin work with the second employer if your documentation remained with the first employer, or was that an arrangement that you made locally?
No, it's not an arrangement. When I left the shelter, you can get job without papers here.
Okay.
You can, but it's very risky also. Okay. I was just lucky to find a good family whereby they accommodated me and they gave me a job.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you then about the communication that has been sent by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, one would assume. Have you gotten any word about that particular communication?
Not at all. We filled the that was shared. I personally, I filled everything, and at the end, just told me, yes.
But you got the link, this link that everybody was getting. Did you get that link, that initial communication? Did you receive it?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, so you're at the place where a lot of people are today, where they are waiting for the next communication.
Yes, we're waiting for the next communication. But also, I'd like to ask, what about that Kenyan that was displaced and did not even take her phone with her? That not even was she's not able to fill the link. What about that Kenyan? What about that Kenyan who is outside? She has her phone, but she doesn't have the Wi-Fi connection. How is she going to be rescued? How is she going to get the link? How are you going to reach her?
Okay, I mean, those are valid questions,
Yes,
Paris. They are. I want to ask you something, though, about your particular case.
Yes.
I'm still on your documentation.
Yes.
Because let us say now that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in conjunction with the consulate now, is rounding up people who've said they want to go back home. How would you travel?
Yes.
If your documentation, I'm assuming it's your passport for travel, that is still with your first employer.
Yes, please.
How would you travel?
Yes. After I got outside, I had a meeting with our consulate, and he told me that if I want to travel back home, I have to fill in papers. Again, I did in the consulate's office, and I was told it's going to take 3 to 4 months for me to be able to come back to the country. But with this, the consulate told me this form that I'm going to fill, at first I'll pay $60.
$60?
$60, yes, at first. The second one, he's going to book an appointment for me for general security, where I will go and I'll be interrogated. There, I'm going to pay $150. For $150, just for to go to the general security. From there, I'm going to pay penalty of the after. Now they are counting. In Lebanon for 3 years now. For every year I'm going to pay $150 for every year a penalty. This one for 3 years it's $450. Add these $150 that the consulate managed to give me
general security.
an appointment to general security. Yes. And again, add these $60 that I paid when I was nilikuwa najaza form. Now tell me, all this money, where am I going to find it? Whereby I'm only paid $250. I have family back home. I will need to feed them. I need to do everything for them. Honestly, I don't have money, and this is what keeping us here. We cannot travel because when you start your traveling process, it needs a lot of money, whereby we don't have all this money.
So now, when you register with via the link that was shared by the government, are you required to input your details, your passport number and all?
Yes.
And is there anywhere where you
Luckily,
indicate?
I have my passport number with me, luckily.
Okay.
Is there anywhere where you indicate that you don't have your passport with you?
No, if you don't have your passport with you, if you don't have a passport number, it's not going. You cannot submit it.
Okay, you have the number.
If you leave
in your case, you have the number, but you don't have the passport physically.
Yes, I have it.
Paris, just stay on the line. What we want to do is link you up with the Principal Secretary for Diaspora Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She's joining us on the line. Roseline Njogu.
Yes.
PS, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Latiff. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for speaking to us this morning. We are talking to Kenyans who are in Lebanon, and we know that you've been making efforts to reach out to them, asking them to register, and you've given them even a deadline for the 12th of October. Register so that you know how to organize their logistics and transportation back home. On the line with us from south of Lebanon is Paris Kinodia, who's been there since late 2022. She's in her third year now. She's a mother of two. She's there. She's been earning to send money back home. She's with her second employer. This is not her sponsor. So there was a disagreement with her sponsor, and the consulate in Beirut helped to get her out of there into a shelter home. But then she left the shelter home and got this other job with the second employer. She's saying, for example, tonight they haven't slept. So just listen to her story, PS, and then we see how you can guide her into getting support and communicating with the others. So, Paris, this is the PS. Just start by introducing yourself and telling her how long you've been there and how the night has been tonight for you.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning, Paris.
My name's Paris Kinodia.
Go ahead. Paris,
Hello.
go ahead. Just tell her she already has the brief of how your life has been. I want you to paint a picture for her of, for example, the houses that you've told us before she got on the call that you've had to move houses 3 times. Where are you now?
Yeah.
What's the situation like?
Yes. Okay. Good morning. This is Paris Kinodia. I've been working in Lebanon this is my 3rd year. I came here with my first employer and we had our differences and I was rescued by the consulate. I was put in a shelter and I left the for 2 months, and I left the shelter because I couldn't stay there anymore because of I wasn't able to provide for my family. So that's the reason why I moved out. I was lucky when I moved out. I went to South Lebanon. I got another employer there. And I've been staying with this employer. This is our 5th month together. When the war started, it really caught our house. It was the 2nd day of bombing in South Lebanon. Our house was bombed, like it moved into ashes, almost to ashes, but we were lucky to get out, but we got out without anything. I was lucky my boss came with me to Beirut, and when we came to Beirut, our house also, it got bombed. And we moved to another relative of hers to Tripoli, a place called Tripoli. Also there, our house was bombed. Again, we moved here where we are
You've been to 3 houses that have been bombed?
Yes.
I'm very sorry.
Now we moved to the mountains, and here also we have not slept at night. Yesterday at night it was very bad. There was a lot of bombing, and there was one at 12 that was very intense. It was very intense. It was a big one. Compared to the other one that killed, allegedly they're saying that it killed the leader of Hezbollah. This one was very big.
So now, Paris.
Yes.
Have you registered via the link that has been provided by the government?
The link that was shared, we are registering, and but when at the end it's not giving us any. After you register, you asked for your names, for your gender, and for your passport number and the place that you are. After that, when you submit all that and you send it, it's not giving you a way forward. It's just like that.
I understand. Right. So firstly, Paris, let me say I'm really sorry about the situation that you've gone through. It is very clear that you've seen more horrible things happening in the space of a very short time than many people will live through. I'm sorry for that trauma, and I am sure at some point we're going to be able to get into that and address it. To get to the situation and just say that we're very concerned for Kenyans, and this is why we are mounting an evacuation. I hear you about the information that we are giving on our link when you register. That once you've registered, it's not giving you a way forward or giving an indication. We've made a couple of changes in response to that. One, we've Now the information is available both in English and Kiswahili, because we found out that in some places we were having trouble with accessibility for people who might not be as have as much capacity to read and understand English as Kiswahili. So, like with many of government documents, we now have the link available both in English and kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, so that it's easier to use. Secondly, starting today, through the various contacts that you've registered, you'll be able to receive communication that basically keeps you informed on where we are, what is happening, and how to proceed. For the Kenyans who've already been evacuated, of course, once they signed up and they were clear and ready to travel, then we were able to communicate and tell them, this is the day you're traveling, these are your tickets, and so on, and they've been able to move. Things have changed a little bit from what you're telling me. As you can hear, with the intensifying activity, a number of things have changed, including the ways through which we can evacuate people. Flights have reduced. The number of airlines that are now flying into Beirut have reduced significantly. And as at yesterday, I believe, or 2 days ago, maybe just Middle East Airlines was flying and reduced numbers of flights. So even our plans have needed to change. And this is why we've been insisting that people need to register, and we were asking people to register early, so that we are able to move while more airlines were available, while more flights were available, and so on. And that's what we've been trying to do. But this is not for you to despair, because it is our intention to get every Kenyan who wants to get out. We are also aware that there are Kenyans who do not want to leave. And so we are not forcing anybody to go, but they will have to make the decision that they don't want to go. But we do need your details. Also to say, I hope, Paris, that you have your passport information and so on, but to also confirm that part of the information we collect is to know whether somebody has a passport or not. So that if they don't have a passport, we prepare emergency travel documents, which is a big part of what our consulate is doing. So when we collect the information about, do you have a passport, or what is your passport number, and that stuff, it helps us figure out. We also ask questions about people's health and concerns. For example, one of the questions we have there is whether somebody is pregnant. Because if someone is pregnant, then of course we prioritize them, so that they are among the first people to leave, because we have to move people in batches. So my message to you, Paris, and I really hope you can pass this on to other Kenyans you're in touch with, is that here at home, people are working 24 hours a day to make sure that Kenyans are safe. We have the hotline is available 24 hours a day. We're making sure that we can respond as quickly as we can. That's number one. The message I want you to understand is that the government of Kenya cares. And personally, this is my most important task at the moment, to make sure that 26,000 plus Kenyans who are in Lebanon can be rescued safely. So yes. This is what I am telling you.
Unfortunately,
but the third, Latiff, you've lost me, or I've lost you.
No, we've lost Paris, but we also have another Kenyan who's in Lebanon who's on the line.
Let me say this just in case. 1 second before I speak to Diana. Let me just say this, because even though the line might be cut off, she might be able to see it or hear you on online. Just to say that please pass the information on to others. It is imperative that they register. If they're having trouble with any information on the link, we need to know that so that we can improve it. We've gotten some feedback, we've improved it, we're happy to keep improving, but we want Kenyans not to be sidetracked by other information and so on. They register, we're going to evacuate them at GOK's cost.
Okay. So on the line is Diana. We had spoken to Diana earlier before we got Paris on the line. And just like Paris, Diana also says that she has registered with a link, but she didn't get any further information. Diana, hello.
Hello.
So on the line, Diana, is the PS, Roseline Njogu. She's the Principal Secretary for Diaspora Affairs. She's the one who's coordinating evacuation of Kenyans in Lebanon and calling on you all to register. So you had told us earlier that you registered, but you have not received any more information since then.
Yeah.
And PS, you have just been saying that now you have improved the platform, that you're able now to reach out to the people who registered with more information.
Yes. Hi, Diana, and thank you for reaching out as well. Yes, indeed, we understand, and this is also one of the concerns, Latiff and Diana, that came up, that Kenyans are registering, but now they're nervous because you've registered. We've told you to stay tuned, and we are not sending you information. We understand that, and we are doing that now. Okay, so you can expect to see communication regularly from us that gives you an indication of, what movement looks like, when you would be evacuated, what you need to do, and so on. So that regular communication is coming, and we appreciate the feedback that this was causing people anxiety to register and not get information. But also just to say that we are committed to every Kenyan that is in distress. So please, for those who have not registered or who are not in touch with us, it is imperative that they do that.
P.S. I needed to ask you, but for some information, this is Ndu.
Hi, Ndu.
Hi. What mode or method of communication are we using to reach? Because from what we understand, that there are people all over the place. There are people who may not have some method of communication. There are those who might. What method is that information that's coming directly from the consulate in Beirut? Or is there another channel that's being used?
So, excellent question. Various channels. So for those who've registered, they have either left us with an email address or a phone number, which allow us then to message them directly. But the embassy, we serve Lebanon from Kenya Embassy in Kuwait, but we have an honorary consul in Beirut. So from messaging from the honorary consulate and messaging from Kenya Embassy in Kuwait and from us here in Nairobi, that is how we are able to get through to Kenyans. There are several WhatsApp groups in which we have ability to communicate directly to Kenyans living in Lebanon. We are doing that. We are making sure that leaders and conveners are also sending information through on the various WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, and then the direct communication as I have indicated. Of course, as we always insist, if somebody is available on social media, and many are, actually most are, then on our various social media channels for Diaspora, so at Diaspora_KE, on our Twitter, on our Facebook, on our TikTok, on our Instagram, I have a sense I'm forgetting one, on Threads, and even on our website. All of that information is available. But of course, there is also the work that media houses and shows like yours do, which is basically to help us get that information out. So it's really an all-out.
Sure. In terms of information, I mean, I know, like you said, we're looking at preliminary and we're looking at reduced numbers for flights with just Middle Eastern airlines flying now. But do you have an idea in terms of timing? I mean, are you waiting for a certain number of folks to register and then you say we are moving on a certain day? What is happening with that?
You can't afford to do that in an evacuation. You move people as they become, as you batch them, right? So again, part of my frustration is this: that when we had more capacity to move, when there were more airlines flying and so on, Kenyans did not register. It would have been much easier, faster, cheaper, safer to have moved more of them then, but they did not register. But this is where we are now, and we're dealing with what we have. Our evacuation plan also considers the fact that Kenyans are going to do the Kenyan thing and register the last minute. So we are using whatever flights are available, but we are also considering non-air means of evacuation.
Okay. Diana, do you have any question you'd like to ask the PS, Diana?
Yeah.
Speak to her.
Okay, for me, I can just say, when we have been given the link, we've been told to wait until maybe 12. And after that, we don't know maybe it will happen or not. And the one who is delivering the message, we don't know if she's delivering the correct thing or no.
So there's an issue here.
Let me try and understand.
The two
We've
issues
not-
here, as we understand, is number one, that loop. So once they register, not getting information, which you have addressed shortly, but also, like Diana had told us earlier, she's in a WhatsApp group. But we were asking her, is there any official person who's joined that group to give you updates? And she says she doesn't know the people in the group, so she doesn't know whether the information being shared in the group is all trustworthy.
Okay, so I think those are good questions, especially because we see a lot of fake news also traveling, and so it's important actually to make sure that the information that you're receiving is valid information, and that's why we insist partly on following our social media platforms, because there that what we are giving you has the coat of arms. It is legit information. So if I am able to get onto WhatsApp, I can also sign up to the State Department's WhatsApp channel, which then brings news straight to your phone, and it's able to get to you. So that is available. Number one, we are happy. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we are happy to keep sharing those and tell you which numbers can be trusted to give information. But please remember that you can always fact check that information with us on the places that I have said. Secondly, maybe to clarify to Diana that we are not waiting until the 12th of October.
Okay.
The 12th of October is the deadline for registration. So what I'm saying is you need to register before the 12th of October. And the reason there is a deadline is this. All evacuations usually have their time, what do you call it now?
Sensitive.
They're a timed event. Okay, so for example, I have to say that I will evacuate from this date to the other date. And after that, anybody who has not signed up and therefore been taken care of, we will not be able to carry out those evacuations for various reasons. As I said, options continue closing, it becomes impossible, or I can't have people waiting and saying, maybe mtanikujia in November, right, or something like that, because it doesn't make sense economically or even as far as security is concerned. So I'm not asking Kenyans to wait until 12th of October to register. I'm saying register now and tell all of your friends, colleagues, family, and enemies to register before the 12th of October, because once we close, we are going to work with just the people who have registered. We are going to assume that those are the only people who want to get out.
How many have registered so far?
I haven't checked the numbers this morning. Maybe 24 hours ago when I checked, there were 3,500 or something like that. I can check shortly and let you know.
So there's still 23,000 who haven't registered.
I'm not sure how many have registered as of this morning. I could check quickly with my team and see what that number is. If there's another question, I can tell you and then get back to you on what that number is.
We were looking at those numbers earlier, and CT was asking, maybe what we are dealing with here is we are actually dealing with a situation where we see, from what we see in the news, we see a dire situation, but not all the Kenyans who are in Lebanon are actually facing a situation where they need or they feel the need to evacuate. CT asked.
That's actually correct. Especially people who are higher up in the mountains and so on might not feel like they need to move. But as you know, Latiff, these situations are rapidly change.
Yes.
If you've heard what the Paris said, they seem to have moved around a lot, and the drama has followed her where she has gone. So these things change, and with the response that we have seen in the region. Now with the response from Iran that we saw the other day, you never quite know how bad things are going to get. And for us, we cannot afford to wait to see how bad things have gotten. Then we respond, because options and pathways close, the worse things get. I also understand, Latiff, that these are livelihoods.
Yep.
And there are people who want to keep working as long as they can. We had a similar situation in Israel when we evacuated Israel, and many Kenyans said, look, we understand the risk, but tuko kazini.
We'll take the
Tuko
risk.
kazini, we don't want to leave. We are going to put our lives in God's hands and hope for the best. And a number of them stayed, hundreds stayed. So this is also something that we deal with, and that is why the evacuation is purely voluntary for whoever wants to leave. But by staying, one is making that decision.
Madam PS, I have a two-pronged question, and thank you very much for being available to help us in this conversation we are having with our fellow citizens in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. The numbers we are being given as to the number of Kenyans who are in Lebanon, we say, is 26,000. Now, I'm interested. What details do we have about these individuals? Is it where they are, the sort of work they are doing, the regions where they are, and if should they move, do we know or do we have an updated database where all the details pertaining to them is available? I ask this because when you're talking about evacuation, some of these details are sometimes necessary when you're planning to evacuate. That's question number one. Yeah. Question number two is a simpler one, and probably you'll answer this one first. We had a conversation earlier on with one of our fellow citizens, and something arose. It piqued my mind when she mentioned that her passport is with her employer. Now, I'm taking the view that there are other people in Lebanon whose employer have their passport. Is this an impediment to their traveling back to the country? And if this is it, what is it that the Ministry of Foreign, or the ministry, the department that you head, what is it that we would do to help evacuate individuals whose passports are not with them and yet they wish to travel back?
Yeah. Great questions. So two things. Let me start with the second one. It's a quick kill. Passports being withheld by employers is illegal under international law, international conventions. That means that when I go to work, it doesn't matter where I work. Nobody's supposed to keep my passport. But it happens, right? We are all aware that this is happening, and we speak with the governments of these countries regularly to sensitize their citizens that this is happening, and we wouldn't want it to continue happening, and this is a problem Kenyans are having. It's one of the things that my colleague Pierce Mwadime and I are always discussing and trying to find ways around and dealing with in our bilateral labor agreements. Now, but that somebody is holding your passport or that you have lost your passport is not an impediment to traveling. And that's not just for Lebanon. It is even for you. If you travel, let's say you go to Ghana and you lose your passport, that does not mean you're going to live in Ghana forever. We provide an emergency travel document. It's called an emergency travel certificate, ETC, that is given by our embassy or consulate, depending on whatever level of representation we have where you are, that will allow you to travel home. It's usually a one-way sort of document. So as soon as you arrive at, let's say, JKIA, you will usually surrender that document because you're home, you don't need it, and then you can process, a new passport and so on. So any person in Lebanon who has lost their passport, whose passport is being held, they do not need to worry about that. You just need to indicate that on the form. And then we will be able to provide emergency travel documents. We have made available enough ETCs to cover the Kenyans who are in Lebanon, assuming that a number of them have lost or do not have their documents to travel. Allow me to repeat that. If you have lost or do not have your passport, speak to us. We will issue an emergency travel certificate.
Okay.
So that you can travel. So that's number two, and that one is easy. Number one is this. Our system and our law requires a voluntary registration. On your passport, if you look at it, it says when you get to a foreign country, you need to register your presence with our embassy or consulate in that country. Kenyans do not do it. They're supposed to, they don't do it. I am sure the last time you were out of the country, you did not register. But you're supposed to. For this very reason, if there is an emergency, we know that you are there and we can send help. But either Kenyans are not aware of this requirement or, wanapuuza. So it's not done. Now, particularly if you're going to travel to Lebanon through a third country, or remember we have had a travel advisory for labor migration against Lebanon for over a year now, but Kenyans have gone anyway. What they have done, a lot of them has been, you don't declare that I'm going to Lebanon when I'm leaving, let's say, JKIA or Mombasa International Airport. You say, I'm going to Ethiopia. So you go to Addis Ababa, then from Addis Ababa you go to Beirut. There is no way for us to know what your final destination is if you don't disclose it. Therefore, we are not able to intervene and tell you, do not go there. If you have chosen, to circumvent the system. You're not telling us you're moving as a labor migrant. You're just saying, naenda kufanya biashara zangu, Egypt or wherever it is. And you have the documentation to travel to Egypt, so you go. So what the information we have and the data we have, including from the government of Lebanon, is that these are the numbers of Kenyans that we have. We have some more information in terms of who might be there, but it is not comprehensive. Unless people register, and specifically now for this evacuation, we might have a large number, a broad number, that kind of information, but we will not be able to tell you Roseline Njogu is in Beirut working as a teacher in a particular school.
Okay.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
Okay. So, P.S., thank you very much for speaking to us. Diana is still on the line. Just pass one final message to Kenyans through Diana. She is in a WhatsApp group, and she can post this in the group.
Thank you. So Diana, please let your sisters and brothers in Lebanon know this. Here in Nairobi, we are ready to support you. We are working hard to get you home. Please register so that we have the information that we need. And if you have questions on the same numbers that we have published, you can reach out and ask questions. The Nairobi number in particular will be able to, if you're not able to reach Beirut or reach Kuwait, you can reach Nairobi, and with 24 hours somebody is able to respond to your questions. Na mkiingia kwa mtandao pia, you can get that information. We are also available on WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp channel, to give you news that you can trust. But we are thinking about you. We are trying to get help to you. So please, hold on.
Thank you very much. Thank you, P.S. Roseline Njogu, for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Diana Nyachero, who is in Lebanon. Thank you as well for speaking to us, Diana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.